Just let me just try like this, and then I will run to the
Okay.
house if shit happens.
The scene is set for Perth. By night, the Primogen Council is assembled. They've all had to go through the rather stringent security of the airport, getting into a gentleman's club, which the Ventru had worked on for quite a while to build up towards being Elysium. However, now it's got a Tremere Keeper, even though on a lot of the paperwork and stuff on the kind side, the area is very much tied to the Ventru on the Kindred side, which matters more. It is a Tremere pulling the strings on a few things, but everyone that's come in, they will be familiar with some of the safety precautions, Rafat checking with aspects for people as they come in, and those who are particularly observant will notice that there is a mirror set off to the side. Just those with high aspects will notice this. There's a mirror set off to the side, and Rafat's his eyes flicker for a moment towards the mirror. Those of you particularly high occult might recognize what that is. You can roll after the scene to figure out if you know what that is. But it looks like a gentleman's club. Some of the area has been cleared out. It's quite nicely and ornately decorated. Nothing gaudy, nothing necessarily flamboyant, but there's a nice, heavy, carved oak table set in the room. The normal appointments in this room have been moved aside for a special private function. And actually, yes, Hannibal does show up on that mirror.
Oh, okay, that kind of mirror.
It's that kind of mirror, yes. Actually, that's a point. I should have another. But he'll be checking other reflective surfaces to make sure about other things. But yeah, you definitely. Actually, that is with Hannibal's. Yeah, I can imagine Hannibal possibly for the first. Wow, that could actually be really unsettling for Hannibal for the first time seeing what he actually looks like as Nosferatu.
Oh, okay. Then Hannibal will just stand in front of the mirror and just go. Bop. Is this thing working?
Yes, it is. Rafat will, I will say, Hannibal's one of the last people. Rafat will put it in his pocket. Very useful advice. Nothing specific against you, but well, if I'm to be keeper of Elysium, we must maintain security.
You gotta give me one of those. That's just 1 point.
Sure, boons could be exchanged at a future point.
Oh yeah, sure they can.
Perhaps for the first time, Hannibal thinking, staying off that thaumaturgical blacklist might have been one of my better moves, because they've got toys. Terrible, terrible toys. But as the Primogen Council sits down with those present, including a hand of Clan Toreador, but the new Gangrel Primogen respectfully sitting there, but he, for the first part of the meeting, until his player shows up, is listening more than actively participating, kind of assessing how the group dynamic works to a degree. And we'll let the prince begin the festivities.
So, given that first order of business, given that he has so far honored his word and behaved in a manner that I think deserves, else at the very least, countenance. Are we ready to? Are we going to agree to ban the Giovanni from the city?
Hannibal just looks over to Rafat and then to Creel to see if they want to say something.
Rafat clearly has something to say. I know you're predicting how
Okay.
he clearly has something to say, but he's waiting to gauge the reactions of the rest of them. There's clearly something he wants to say, but it doesn't matter whether he speaks first or somebody else.
Question.
That
Have any Giovanni made the request to come into the city?
Yes. I'm fairly certain that was a bit of a parting gesture of spite from the Nagaraja.
Hannibal will, well, to be honest with this council and His Majesty, I don't think it's a good idea to insult the Giovanni with banning them from the city without them having slighted us in any way or form. They might not take too kindly to this at all.
Oh, given what I know about what their interest is, I'm fairly certain that even if we ban them, they'll try to enter.
Yeah. Well, but wouldn't we want them to enter on our terms than on their terms?
Well, so who am I going to feed a hussy?
Could you repeat that?
Who am I going to feed a hussy then?
I have to say I've given the matter some thought personally. And, well, obviously, Prince Harris, you've had some brief discussion with him, and the Nagaraja was a matter that you felt needed to be moved on. Thankfully, it was able to be resolved without expending too much resources. But perhaps before we seal the deal, shall we say, there could be some further negotiation. Perhaps we could either get him to loosen up on his expectations, banning the Giovanni outright. However, we might be able to reduce it so that, and not have all of our eggs in one basket. Potentially, we might be able to have the Giovanni have a limited representation, or failing that, if he's so hard against that, well, I'm sure such a intractable position, we might be able to negotiate more for our end. I'm not sure we have the best deal we could potentially get.
Absolutely.
Probably not. In fact, there were, given certain things that I learned from the Nagaraja, there were certain renegotiations I had in mind anyways.
This Harbinger, out of character, I forgot the name. Can someone repeat him?
Abdul Fattah.
Abdul Fattah. This Harbinger, Abdul Fattah, we don't know what his agenda really is. We don't know where his allegiance lie. I see no reason why we should give him, well, basically a monopoly on harboring spirits and spooky ghosts.
Well, actually, he was willing to break that monopoly by teaching two of the members of our city the Sepulchre Path.
Giving out crumbs and bones doesn't seem to be breaking monopoly to me, with all due respect. If he is the one teaching, we have no way of confirming what he teaches. He can choose how much he wants to teach. If he is willing to give such a valuable secret up, there must be something in him for him in this game.
There absolutely is.
The thing to ask yourself is how much of a profit of this deal is he making?
Exactly, and it's got to be tenfold what we are making.
I know, I actually, pretty much, as far as I can tell, he is here for the same reason the Nagaraja were here, for the same reason the Giovanni are now here, because of King's Park.
King's Park.
Yes. Apparently, after the Lupine holy place was desecrated, it produced a large number of exceedingly powerful ghosts.
Ha!
Which would explain why every necromantic power I've heard of, and some I haven't, are now converging on the city.
Which means the cards are in our hands.
For a given value.
Which means that any side that gets directly told no is going to consider us an obstacle instead of going, oh well, there's plenty of other cities to go to.
Yeah. At the very least, we should meet and discuss actually seeing if we can limit it to a single Giovanni.
What, one single representative? They have a habit of bringing their friends and family.
Oh, of course they do.
But on the kindred side,
This is the entertaining part of it. If we keep them policing each other, they'll actually probably expend more of their energy dealing with each other than they would otherwise causing problems for us.
It also could mean that we would stand in the possibility of losing control over the situation.
Oh,
It sounds like a classic I get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning going, oh, yeah, we actually need that guy dealt with like 15 minutes ago.
okay, to be perfectly honest, we've had a situation that was out of our control here to begin with. I think we could possibly take down the Harbinger if we had to, but it would cost us. Meanwhile, yeah, keeping the Giovanni out would also cost us.
Did the Giovanni offer something more valuable?
So far, I've simply received a letter saying that they are sending representatives.
Have you considered just auctioning off this piece of land and letting them bid?
Oh, the thing is, what the Giovanni have largely to offer is, well, or rather, what they are in the habit of offering is trinkets. What the Harbinger has offered is actually a bit more comprehensive and something that, once he finishes teaching it, is actually out of his hands.
what I would suggest is one of two approaches, because I do believe we can, especially with the information that there are Giovanni potentially showing up, we can use that as leverage to finalize slightly different terms. One is that we continue on with the idea of having no Giovanni in the city, but he must provide training to a larger number of the court, which would mean we'd be less reliant and more able to defend ourselves if anything were to happen to him. Or if we're really lucky, we could keep what he's giving at the moment while getting Giovanni to getting him to accept that it is just a political reality that they are Giovanni there, which in case if things escalate between them, well, we'll be able to decide who's being less disruptive at the time.
Well, of course, we can also throw on the table for Hossi that, oh yeah, there's a Giovanni in the area, and we have done no agreement whatsoever to protect their asses.
Have we, or should we not consider, if we're talking about factions, Giovanni and Abdul Fattah, maybe letting the Harbinger bid as well? Not the Harbinger, I'm sorry, what's the word? Nagaraja.
Well,
Why?
okay, part of the reason is the Nagaraja didn't by whether or not Abdul Fattah intended to initially reveal himself, or whether I simply offered him a company by showing up at a place he had interest in. No idea. But once he ran into some of us, he was willing to speak to us. And in fact, he'd run into us from a distance. He'd not actually been. He'd actually been keeping all of his feeding requirements well away from the city. Now, the Nagaraja did have a fairly inventive method of feeding without getting caught. But
But they had a good setup.
oh no, it was actually, given their limitations, an amazing setup. But they didn't quite. There were things they should have done. They may not have been fully aware, but of who actually held the city. They should have at least made efforts.
Okay.
I have no surprise. They were likely very fully aware that we held the city. They just wanted their business done with an L before they got caught.
Pretty much. Most kindred believe in the seventh tradition, even if they don't believe in the first six.
I agree. That was certainly not very wise, Uru, but as you rightfully said, the Harbinger only revealed himself and dealt with the cult because he got caught.
There is the issue regarding Nagaraj as well of the Nagaraja does not seem to be their own master. The Giovanni, we are able to recognize where their loyalties are. The Harbinger, to put it bluntly, seems to be his own master to a degree. So the question is, where does the Nagaraj's loyalties lie? Who
It's a very good question, actually.
Yes.
Where do the Harbingers' loyalties lie? We know nothing about this Abdul Fattah.
Well, we know what sect he belongs to, and he's given the impression that he's operating independently as a kindred ever really does. But this Nagaraja seems they've definitely got somebody pulling their strings that they weren't keen on mentioning, at least.
There's definitely a puppet master at work there.
Oh, yes.
And of course, the Najaraja, aren't they typically have links with some of our more not kindly looked upon sects?
The same can be said of the Harbingers.
I heard the same
though not
about
to
the
the same
skeletons.
extent.
Yeah, but we know what sect the Harbinger's part of.
What he claims of.
Well, what he claims. I didn't hear so much of an excuse from Najarajas.
Well, I believe there was confirmation regarding his sect to a degree, although it doesn't seem to be the most prominent.
Yes. Now, the Nagaraja, it was fairly obvious, were answering to someone outside of the city. In fact, their leader was likely to be punished quite severely for being kicked out.
Which is going to be interesting when they attempt round 2.
Yeah, which I'm still waiting for that shoe to drop.
Probably more aggressive next time.
Yeah, but ooh. Oh, that would actually. Okay, so if we do go with the option of having, say, a single representative from Giovanni here in town, I'm sure both sides would have a vested interest in letting us know if the Nagaraja return. Because as much as they want to keep the resource at Kings Park for themselves, they definitely don't want a third person trying to split the balance.
And of course, that leads to the added benefit of one has permission, the other has permission. The Najaraja don't have permission. Please let us know if they show up.
Oh, yes. Now, there's actually quite... The biggest thing is pretty much getting sureties from both sides that they will, at the very least, prevent any conflict from spilling onto anyone but each other.
Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't be keen on having one or two member of the Giovanni clan, let's distinguish the family. I wouldn't be. I think one, given the current size of the court, would be as big as I'd be really comfortable with. But with the Harbinger here as well, if we're able to convince, if we're able to broker it without causing any immediate hostilities, and have the Giovanni take up residence, well, they're setting down roots, and if we have problem with the Harbingers later on, then they might be able to offer some aid with the
Well,
possibility of having a greater position here.
it does also leave the issue of with the current criminal underground being as uncontrolled and not under our thumb as it is, the Giovanni slipping in is actually kind of a big deal because they're really good with those guys and they can get a stranglehold on the bit where, well, none of our guys has.
To be honest, it's not necessarily going to be that difficult. If the person's alive, dominate. If the person's dead, where some of us who have dominated find it rather difficult to get the answers out of them, they have ways that the rest of us lack.
Yes.
By the way, I don't quite like handing over the criminal underworld to Giovanni. He happens to appear because he's got all the connections.
Oh, but
No.
if we go with what's previously stated, either way, whether we alerted a representative into the city or not, I think that Giovanni will show up at our doorstep nonetheless. They can be rather forceful. So either letting them grow wild or trying to control the circulation of a market that's already in existence. I prefer the latter.
Mm.
The problem is if we outright deny the Giovanni or the Harbinger, they may look for outside aid,
Yeah.
Exactly.
which could really stabilize things. Then again, we're in a fairly isolated area. It would take a degree of planning.
But we're also a fairly young city.
Yeah, we're not. And we're.
I don't think we can afford pissing off the Giovanni. Or a Harbinger, maybe? I don't know.
No, at this point, it may be a game of play both sides towards the middle.
Well, there's not that many of us liberators left now.
No, there's.
5 left in the city only.
Yeah.
So we only have so many cards on our deck.
Alright.
Yeah. However, I'll have to point out that the sheriff might be underestimating the influence over the criminals the locals hold.
I might be, but no one's been particularly giving me reports on that despite my generous offerings.
Offers?
Oh, we'll cover that after the meeting.
I've been trying to encourage the grasshoppers to move in that direction, seeing as they have some level of inclination. Oh yes, sort out the second vehicle, by the way.
Fantastic. Now, before we get too distracted, Satchel, you want to actually call your votes in, and while you collect the votes, I'll go and make sure no one's listening in too closely. I'll be right back.
Rather than necessarily vote, we could, I do believe, although it might be a little bit crude to a degree, if we wanted to get this settled in this sitting, I do believe we have the number for the Harbinger's ghoul. We could potentially, well, my prince, you can speak with him. We could see what additional terms or conditions we could get to make it a bit more palatable.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. And Leon will pull out his phone and make the call.
And the ghoul will answer. Be very polite. Once you explain what to speak to his master, it'll be a few minutes pause, and then you can hear him speaking in Latin. And she's kind of Leon and those at high aspects will hear. Well, they'll hear, but only Leon actually has language to understand. It's kind of the ghoul being a bit reassuring. No, you're doing it right. You're holding it right, effectively. He's like, "Greetings, Prince Harris. He says in Latin.
And greetings to you, Abdul Fattah. We thank you for your recent aid towards the city. However, a matter has recently come up that we may need to... Well, several matters have recently come up from... largely from dealing with the Nagaraja. Among other things, it seems they have alerted the Giovanni of what lies in King's Park.
Do you wish me to exterminate the Giovanni?
He actually closes it.
He just like there's actually very little. There's just a moment's slight moment's pause before it just kind of like almost if I've got to think about how do I phrase this in Latin.
and Leon just trying not to laugh. He's like, honestly, there is a very distinct problem here in practical manners. While I'm certain you are very potent, you are a single kindred. They are an entire clan. And at this point, whether we will it or no, they will get here. So, the real question is, do we shut the door in their face and constantly guard every window? Or do we let in a very limited number, at this point I think only a single representative, and at least have them where we can see them?
If you fear by allowing them into your household, by not refusing to allow them into your household, you must constantly be on guard against attack. Why would you allow any such ally as that entrance into your household?
Because there is an old adage, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
And I may be one. However, if it would allay your suspicions, if at any point you're able to identify identity, as I said, I'd be willing to exterminate them. And I can assure you, none of their clan, with its ways, are as old as I am.
As far as age goes, I'm willing to believe you. As far as power goes, I am not.
Well, I think Augustus may have an edge in some areas, but he will be dealt with in time. Some of you will get like Giovanni, Augustus, sinister tone on Augustus. I'm like, oh yeah.
So this question really becomes one of, would you be willing to have us have a single Giovanni in the city, which we would of course be limited, and if for some reason they step out of line, I would happily recommend them to your tender mercies.
And I don't suppose one of those GPS ankle bracelets they give to prisoners is on the board.
Remember, he is speaking Latin, so he has no idea what the hell you just said there. I am familiar with their ways. They may pretend several things, but it would not be long before they attempt to manufacture lies or bribe their way into a position where they would attack me.
Of that I am... Well, this is I assume, going to be a delicate balancing act to prevent undue violence. But when it comes down to it, it's been pointed out to me that, well, there are some clans you can effectively deny the entire clan entrance. Those clans are also usually not nearly as organized. Whereas for the Giovanni, they're not just a clan, they are a family. It's my main question to you is, would you be willing to accept, under very strong limitations from us, a single representative of their family coming in?
Give me a charisma leadership role. Difficulty 10.
I'm going to spend two willpower, one.
You can
for
only
not
spend
really-
one willpower at a time.
and one for my prince status.
Okay, so the first round you're spending your prince status. Well, as the prince, blah blah blah. The next round you go. You do it.
So-
Yes.
And so that's going to be 5 plus.
Guys, oh, see, I'm here.
Yeah, we know you're there. We see you say what you said on the chat.
We smell you.
All right, so it's a good thing I spent that other willpower, right?
One success. I was almost motivated.
The Giovanni are. This area of the world is not one where they have a great base of operations. It would take them considerable time to mobilize any kind of significant threat. Once that threat is in any way a level where they as a clan will be, I should have members of your clan, your city, trained up, being able to defend themselves, and alongside myself to keep them out. I would be willing to teach a third. However, I would be willing, under the assurances that they will be ejected from the city if they attempt anything against me, and that they would not be allowed attempt to interfere with myself, and if they show up in my domain I will remove them. And the botanical garden will be, if that was recognized as my domain, in addition. And I could contain the beast regarding them. But they are in a weak position, and they could, not as a clan, cause the degree of problems for some time, in which case your court will be trained up. Rather than having to use them as a crutch, I would, rather than having to rely on the Giovanni for eternity and have them drain you of your resources when I leave the city, and I do not intend to stay in the city forever, at which point if you want them in, that is to you, but I would think perhaps rather than have insurmountable amounts of resources over centuries mount up, being paid to them, not having to rely on them for all your necromantic needs.
You do make a good point. I need to speak with the Primogen Council. Are you familiar with the hold function on cell phones?
One moment. Quickly speaking. Like, this is acceptable terms.
Yeah. So, puts it on hold. So, he's willing to. Here's the two different terms he's currently willing to accede to. One, we banned the Giovanni teaches a third of us. Necromancy.
Third person. Not a third of all the kindred. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, a third person.
You don't even have the time.
A third member of our court. Necromancy. The other is that we allow them in under the understanding that they are not that they will be expelled from the city, and if they attempt to assault his person or his domain, and he asks that in that case he also be given King's Park as an additional part of his domain.
That's unacceptable. Hannibal just kind of immediately shouts out. He makes demands. That's not negotiation, my prince.
This is a step along negotiation. He's giving his two options. We can further negotiate these two options.
Well, none of them sound too good for us.
Well, both of them have the advantage that in either case he will be teaching 2 or 3 members of our court necromancy, which means that if we need necromancy, we need not rely upon the Giovanni.
No, we rely on him.
Good phrase for when you give your hand, try not to lose your arm. It's the first time I speak. I believe that he is too strong to be rely, trust, or play with.
He has also told me, and this may be of interest, in the long term he does not intend to stay in Perth.
Of course he says that.
Well, to date he has not lied to my face.
Oh, that's good to know. I have to say, and he kind of looks over the entire counter, this Abdul Fattah doesn't seem like he wants to give an ounce. He wants to dictate the terms way too much for my taste. He wants an additional domain, King's Park, giving him exactly what he wants. Exactly what he wants.
Well, he's also asking for that domain to be given to him on a very easy to set up set of circumstances. Oh no, the Giovanni attacked me. I'm having that now.
Oh no, some people from the criminal underworld attacked me. Clearly it's Giovanni. Give me.
Yeah, that's a very much just setting up the circumstances for just being able to get the entire basket.
Does Giovanni offered anything to us? Because I wasn't in the scene, guys, you know.
No, they're sending someone.
Yeah, they just said they're sending someone.
Okay. Well, what do we... Well, this guy has some backbones with Giovanni. And maybe Giovanni has some things with him. Maybe they want him like Nagaraja. Or they want him dead.
Rossi very much, I believe, has stated that he really, really doesn't like the Geo guys.
Well, it is Prince's city. It's not him that... It's Prince that who will see that who will come and goes into the city, not him.
To be fair, he's negotiating these things. He made his bad blood clear previously.
Yes.
Whoop-de-doo.
I'm not saying necessarily we have him stick along, especially not under necessary terms he's putting out. We can give a counter proposal.
I was reporting his terms. I'm intending
yes, I understand.
to alter those at the very least.
I think the King's Garden having that as domain is
no, that's
too
not
much. That is not acceptable to me. It is an area, I think, if it's of so much interest that perhaps as a prince and a keen scholar of the occult, perhaps that area should be taken as your own personal domain. And maybe the sheriff and a few others, like the Scourge, can keep a keen eye, make sure nobody physically sets foot there. We can't keep them from doing other things, but stop them from slow their meddling. And if either side is willing to trespass on the prince's domain, then we truly know who are the ones who are more difficult.
That actually has a lot to promise. And yes, we wouldn't be able to prevent certain other methods of interfering with that. But to be perfectly honest, among other things, I'd be able to keep a watch on who was doing what there.
There's one small problem.
And that is?
I think Lion's Mane as a coterie holds enough domain.
I'm not a member of the Lion's Mane. I left that once I became prince.
Oh. The problem is suddenly washed away.
Unfortunate, but we, myself and the prince talked about it previously, and it was clearly not something that could continue.
Yes, I'm sorry I didn't make a public announcement to all the corners of the city.
Well, it would have been good for the council to find it out. Hey, we did. What am I complaining about?
But yes, if you're worrying about one coterie gaining too much power, the prince is no longer a member of that coterie.
Not only the direct domain, but also the possibility of actually negotiating with both the Giovanni and the Harbinger. That would have been a bit too much for a coterie to have.
Oh, yes, but for the prince.
For the prince, yes, agreed.
Why don't we just dictate him our terms, what we want? If he accepts them, we know he's truly a friend of peace and of the city. And if he doesn't, well, if he wants what he desires, then he has to make a suitable counteroffer.
Well,
Because he has so far negotiated in good faith.
well, actually, here's a simple suggestion. As far as Camarilla is concerned, we're concerned with the traditions. He has presented himself to the prince. We have no immediate reason to suspect he's violated any of the other traditions. The Giovanni are clearly willing to present themselves to the prince. We have no reason to suspect they are intending to violate any traditions. Any personal animosity between them is animosity between them and none of the Camarilla's business unless they break traditions. Make them deal with it like everybody else in this city would have to deal with having a bad day with someone else. As long as you keep traditions, it's generally not the Primogen Council or the prince's problem. Now, if you start breaking the traditions, that's why we have the sheriff.
No, right now I'm actually inclined to, of course, to be perfectly honest, I was inclined to, even if there wasn't this situation, limit the number of Giovanni to come to the city because our numbers are few. So limiting the Giovanni to a single representative, taking Kings Park and areas around it as the prince's personal domain. And a few other things besides. I think all together that should work out fairly well.
I think
It
this
will.
I'm sorry.
essentially keep this, their grievances between each other. They neither of them will be able to go, aha, this is mine, because as prince I say, no, it's mine. And they can engage in their shadow wars to their own to their own heart's content.
Unless they're willing to, unless they end up offering something significant enough, he would be willing to try. But that is a completely different circumstance, which is not written yet.
Yes. Now, if there was something much greater than what has already been offered on the table, then yes, renegotiation would be an option. But for now, I think I am going to give him our terms. And, puts it off a hold. It's like, are you still there, Abdul Fattah?
Yes, I am still here. I can hear your voice. The device.
So, after some discussion, here is what I'm inclined to agree to. If the Giovanni do attack your person or your domain, yes, they shall be kicked out of the city. However, King's Park will not be made a part of your domain. It will be made a part of my personal domain. Anyone who attempts to physically enter the park will have to negotiate with me. And at the moment, I'm inclined to, for indeed a number of other reasons of safety, I'm inclined to not allow any kindred of the city into King's Park. This, of course, does not prevent certain other methods of influencing events there, but no physical presence is allowed. And, of course, the Giovanni would be limited to a single representative. Does this sound acceptable to you?
Give me a charisma leadership roll. Difficulty 7. It does not like these terms. But you've managed to open the gap. You're just slowly.
I'm again spending a little part to bring in my as Prince.
No, that's still there. It's still the same scene.
Yep.
Still
Oh,
working.
that's right. So I only have to spend another willpower for it. Yay!
Now don't fuck it up. You fucked it up.
Oh no!
Okay, I did say I was spending a willpower. Could I say I was spending
You
a
did.
willpower? Yeah.
You did say you were spending willpower.
That's sad.
Oh.
Okay, so did you fail?
You got one success
I
due to
I got one
willpower.
success because I spent a willpower.
Who suck at rolling dice?
I would accept with one additional addendum. Well, this is not a hard rule, but a piece of advice. Those who I end up teaching necromancy towards, I would be very careful. The Giovanni are very envious creatures, and they're very covetous, and they will likely orchestrate situations to remove those individuals.
Yes. To be perfectly honest, the two individuals I had in mind for learning necromancy from you, I doubt they were likely to speak of their abilities much, even outside of members of the court. And most likely not to the Giovanni.
Very well. Do make it plain to members of your court. If others wish to learn necromancy, I could teach others for reasonable exchange.
Of course. I will happily pass that information on. And thank you for understanding my position.
I am not happy with the arrangements, but I can tolerate them.
Well, that is the nature of diplomacy.
And at most, I have faith that the Giovanni will not be able to resist their treacherous ways.
Well, either you will be right and they will be expelled, or you will be wrong and they will cause very few problems. So, either way, you are likely to win. I and then give a. I'll actually probably, and then I'll probably give the traditional Roman hail and farewell.
Agree to that. And although, do you want to speak with the Primogen Council first before you just set that one in stone?
When it comes down to it, it's like he's gonna so it turns back and is like, okay, so he's not happy about the Giovanni being here, but he accepted the terms. And since as prince I have not yet claimed any personal domain, I will be claiming Kings Park and certain neighboring environs as my personal domain.
Noted.
That said, he did have what he termed a piece of advice, that any that he teaches necromancy to should not let the Giovanni know they have it, as they are likely to orchestrate their, of course, entirely accidental deaths. Also, he's willing to, for certain matters, he's also willing to teach others who wish to learn necromancy from him, necromancy for what I assume would be certain matters of prestation. Now, is there anything else we need to discuss?
Well, is this it? Of course, when you set up this Elysium meeting, it sounded like you had something important to report on, like Ghoul said had discovered something that you needed to tell us.
Well, no, to be perfectly honest, it was we had not yet voted on whether or not we would ban the Giovanni, which had been something that Abdul Fattah had wanted, and initially people sounded favorable to it. And since the Giovanni had contacted us, we needed to contacted me, we needed to make a discussion quickly before it became a case of, well, you're already here, but we're trying to kick you out.
Okay, in which case I'd like to add an extra bit to that of that when the Giovanni, if and when they send us a suitable representative, that he gets a little bit of an interview with whoever you deem fit before being allowed proper hospitality.
I had intended to, in fact, have a meeting with the representative before I allowed him to stay in any case. Is there anyone here that wishes to attend that meeting?
Hannibal immediately raises his hand. Absolutely, I want to see that spaghetti eater.
This is going to get entertaining fast. If I can bother myself, I guess I'll try and attend that show.
Well, since it seems we have a lot of people who are interested in
Set up a webcam, sell popcorn.
To what, our ghouls?
Yes.
Well, okay, fair enough. I'll see if I can have Stacy set something up.
Humble shakes his head. Popcorn. Everyone
But-
knows you have to eat nachos.
To ask, are we done with the Giovanni thing? Because there's another thing that I think I need to take up.
Yes, we are done with the Giovanni thing.
Why is there a gangrel sitting in on the meeting?
Oh, because of that. Remember that Primogen Council meeting you didn't make?
No, because this guy probably remembers it better.
Well,
Unlike some other people, I have a problem remembering things I didn't attend to.
well, I was asking if you recalled that there was one that you didn't make.
Yes, yes.
At that council meeting, we had 4 of the Primogen Council there, and all of them and myself were agreed that the Gangrel should be given a seat on the Primogen Council, given their numbers and their contributions to the city so far. The Gangrel were informed that they should make their choice about who to send as their representative, and that is who we have sitting in our midst now.
Representative of Primogen.
Primogen.
That's a big difference there.
Yep.
Oh. Surely, Primogen Quill, you can't say that the Gangrel of our city have not been doing their fair share.
Doing your fair share is for the Camarilla clans.
Yes, and despite a significant number of the Gangrel leaving, a significant number of the Gangrel also stayed. If we were to speak out about clans that have had significant members declare their independence,
Prince, please. I'm just pointing out that there might be a follow-up problem in this. What are you going to do when the Giovanni come in and say, we'd like representation because we helped with this and this and this? We did our fair share.
have never been members of the Camarilla.
No, but they might want a representative in our council meeting.
There have been Giovanni who have sat on Primogen councils, not being members of the Camarilla, but they've been able to sit in such seats, generally not for long.
Maybe the Sethites want to try that right.
But
If the Setite does something particularly impressive,
I do not believe that any decision
we set the bar for independent clans to get
we set the
representation.
possibility. We set the possibility. There was no edict made that if you have 3 people and they all say that they are Camarilla, and we have 3 Setites who join the Camarilla, that does not mean that they are guaranteed to have a Primogen seat.
They have compelling argument then, though.
Oh, I'm sure they do. To which I can respond, the Gangrel have a nearly 1,000-year history of loyalty to the Camarilla. That is
They
only
also have a reason not to argue.
Setites have no such history.
I would like to point out that the Alcorn who helped take the city was in fact a Gangrel.
Yes.
And the Setites have no history of being part of Camarilla and then walking out.
No, because they betray you before they actually make any real alliances. You have a point.
Not exactly the point I was trying to make, though. No. The main thing I see here is we're going to get to discuss other independent clans getting a representation.
If that event occurs, then of course the vote for the Primogen Council and the majority vote will have to be in favour.
And I'd really like
However,
to see what they do to earn that.
Perhaps we could put in a we could have an edict now to set it in stone that if a new Primogen seat is going to be made, there will have to be several days' notice, at least, let's say 48 hours, so that people know that a new Primogen seat will be discussed being made. Or,
Even
well, a
Primogens,
clan being allowed having a Primogen. Actually, let's put it like that. A clan being allowed to have a Primogen seat.
if
That
there
will
is to
be
be a
time.
new Primogen seat, I would really hope it to be a little bit less pressing matter than 48 hours. I'd imagine 48 days would seem a
Yeah, I'm thinking 1 month in advance.
There is not always the. Sometimes emergency seats are emergencies. However, there's always the. We could split it for a full Primogen seat. Observer seats are not as sensitive and often not very long term.
Yes, that actually seems fairly reasonable.
I just wish to add to it that they do have to do a suitable service to be even considered.
Yes.
Gangrel helped conquer the city. What the fuck did you do? That type of deal.
well, the gangrel who helped to conquer the city are not currently present in the city.
Well, some of them left, and I believe
No,
one died.
Understand.
Hmm?
I would have absolutely no argument against one of the original people who liberated the city sitting in on the council. I would be asinine to even argue the point.
You used the word
However,
asinine in a conversation? Well done, sir.
I'm not arguing that point. However, fair enough. The gangrel have a seat. That's good. No objections there, just as long as we realize that there's a few more discussions coming out of it.
Will you say the same for the Gangrel Archon who was still in the city, or not?
Yes,
Gangrel has left the Camarilla. No, Xavier has left the Camarilla.
Gangrel as a clan, as recognized by the Camarilla, are independent.
Well,
Yeah.
I am not. And there's 3 Gangrels in the city which trying to be useful, and well, I haven't seen a single Bruja which trying to be useful to the city.
We're getting to the
I'm
good
terribly
stuff.
sorry.
Someone give me some pancakes.
I have seen when there was where we have been with the Nagara. I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you or any other Bruja. So please, let's just keep our words in here, and let's just keep our words and continue discussing other matters. There is an nearly Methuselah in our city.
No. I think the Gangrel Primogen brought up a question of the Bruja doing anything for the city. Let me educate the Gangrel Primogen on the details.
Now this is a Primogen meeting.
So, sit down, shut up, and listen up. Since you asked a stupid question, here comes the smart answer. Assistance in capturing the Zimis, who was spying on the city and had corrupted one of the Primogen Council members. Assistance in research and actually finding out about a certain harbinger of skulls. I believe the prince still owes me a boon for that one.
Yes.
Do I need to go on, Mr. Gangrel? I've never seen a Bruja do nothing, or are we done?
Make a
Shut
frenzy
your mouth
check.
and educate yourself first.
Make a frenzy check.
Do I need to ST or?
He just put you in your
I
place.
think
Oh.
actually, to be fair, I probably should have called for the Bruja Primogen to make a frenzy check a little while ago. So I'm letting these pass out, but if basically things keep escalating, I'm going to be asking for frenzy checks from people. Rafat will say, he's like, now at this point, Primogen, Clan Gangrel. After our last Primogen Council meeting, we created. See, obviously, Primogen Creel of Clan Bruja was not here at the time, but we had a general agreement and your clan has a seat. However, you must recognize the actual, and I did vote for the Gangrel to have a Primogen seat, and I stand by that motion. However, you must recognize the actual facts. The Gangrel, although you yourself not, and you're by no means the only Gangrel who has not left, they're, as a clan, they have no seat on the inner council. They are not recognized as a clan of the Camarilla. However, I am grateful that it seems to me that the Gangrel loyal to the Camarilla of Australia and in other areas have obviously seen Perth as a rallying point. I appreciate the additional aid. You have a unique insights that you can offer to us, but you must accept the facts and you must recognize that, unfortunately, the Archon obviously has had to leave, and Anton Volkov, a member of your clan who helped liberate the city, unfortunately he ran afoul of events, which mean he is not currently able to assist in these matters. Which means you will have to accept that, well, there are many events here. None of us here are aware of every event that transpires in the city. We certainly be the most powerful kindred in the city in very short order if we were. You will have to accept there are events you're not aware of, and perhaps next time, before making accusations regarding Clan Bruja, do a little more research. But I am happy to welcome you onto the Primogen Council. I'm sure you'll continue to, as you did earlier when we were talking about making a fine distinction regarding earlier and what you said since we talked about the Gangrel position, earlier gave some good insights and good perspective. However, this discussion you have been less, it is hitting more close to home. But once more, I would like to welcome you onto the Primogen Council.
Thank you.
Refund silver tongue, Duta.
Oh, we might have to make that one stick.
Oh, it's better than the nickname in my head.
Let's put it bluntly. We are fortunate enough to have 3 Camarilla Gangrel in the city. This is a boon. Now, the Gangrel are contributing, as every clan is, but, well, the Gangrel, like everyone else, has to continue to contribute. Primogen seats are lost. They are not a guarantee if such events transpire. And let us face facts, and this is not a threat in any way, but the Gangrel Primogen seat, there are, as the facts would state, there is less political fallout if that seat was to be removed than, say, the Bruja or the Malkavians, because those clans have a seat on the inner council of the Camarilla. A sad fact, but the recent decades have led to this situation. But I have no doubt that the Gangrel of Perth will continue to be valuable members, just like the other clans, Camarilla and Perth. He'll kind of smile towards Salvador and say, "Sorry to ruin your fun."
Oh, well.
It was good while it
got diplomatized into the ground. Well done.
Long enough for the hot headache to cool down. I guess that works too.
Actually, let me elaborate one thing that might help clarify things. I'm not sure if Primogen Creed, the reason you might not have seen Bruja members in although you have aided personally yourself in some endeavors, is that there are only 2 Bruja currently in the city.
There are now 3.
There are now 3. I wasn't aware of this. Well, excellent. Then obviously we will see and we know more. But I will personally vouch that I have seen Primogen Creel, as well as Istvan, although I have not seen this new individual. They have both helped on several endeavors for the good of the city.
You mean for the good of ourselves and the fun times related to it, like every other member of the Primogen Council?
I believe I said for the good of the city.
Well, now that I believe we've dealt with little interlude,
We may just get through another Primogen Council meeting without physical violence. We're starting to set a trend.
yes, we haven't had to stake anyone in over a month.
Well, it's not like I've been trying to blackmail the gang lord to teach me protein.
Well, let me put it this way. I don't see any reason for people to complain for the Prusia Primogen to miss a meeting every now and then if that's the goal.
Important things to discuss and make decisions on, vote, or things I have to report back to the clan, that type of thing.
Actually, if you have a few moments to spare, seeing you're the representative of your clan in this meeting, could you stay for a few more seconds afterwards? Would have a word or two.
By all means, I was wondering if it was about time for me to hire some hookers and blow.
And I did think...
Oh, don't hold back!
Prince, I do think the good Sheriff Salvador said something about some offer, you think?
Yes. Well, if you excuse me a moment while I go and use the facilities, Rafat knows the details on this general offer I put out. He can go over it with you quickly, and I'll be back momentarily.
Sheriff Salvador said some time ago, although I believe you were quite new in the city at that point, Primogen Creel, that anyone who made significant areas of controlling the underworld in the city, he's particularly more worried about people who were involved in smuggling, but just generally the underworld was terms, that he would grant them a medium boon. He felt there was a lack of influence in the area. It's not an area I personally have any... well, I suppose to a degree with smuggling, but not a great degree of experience in. So I haven't moved it myself, but I've been encouraging one or two people. But I hadn't pushed it. I didn't know you had any. Well, I'm not sure if there's any members of your clan I know of who have any leanings towards that area, so that's why I bring it up. I've only mentioned it to one or two who've shown some aptitude towards those circles.
To quote a certain previous prince, you know the Bourgeois always have something to do with the streets, right?
Oh, yes, but I don't know how active they've been in pursuing this. For example, I myself, there was the previous prince had pointed towards several directions, and unfortunately I am but one kindred, and I have not been able to make any movement towards gaining influence over the police or the military. It's just too busy, and I think it would cause problems. It's not an area I'm going to be moving in any time in the foreseeable future.
Which actually does bring out a valid and less humorous or volatile tangent. Friends, anything we can do to assist on making so we don't get arrested because some Sabbat person had their claws in on humans?
Well, that is actually a very good point.
While the
There
sheriff has a valid concern over the criminal element, you know, it's not the criminal element that can actually waltz into your haven in the middle of the day and have no questions asked.
Well,
What, you mean Jehovah's Witness?
No, they'll knock on your door first.
Oh yeah, they're very polite.
well, you know, I hear that the police also knock on your door with effectively a battering ram, but it is a knock.
Annabelle just looks at the prince like he didn't get the joke. I don't understand what he's saying.
recent events in America, and I think also some of them starting to happen here in Australia, have had a number of the police have been becoming increasingly militarized.
Well, oh, I see, I understand. Knock, knock, battering ram. Very funny.
Yeah.
Right, I'm back.
So, any assistance that we can lend you? Or you need? Let's put it that way.
Well, everyone in the court or in the extended court has been fairly well behaved. I might need some computer equipment set up for some remote cameras on these new areas of importance to make it easier to be kept track of.
Oh, why didn't you say so in the first place? If it's cameras and computers you're looking for, I'm happy to lend assistance.
Excellent. That would be helpful, especially let's get a few set around this King's Park.
Yeah, that'd be best.
But yes, I will of course be looking into my own methods of security there as well. But
I prefer layers. But it's of course your choice, my prince.
oh no,
However you wish to cover it.
if you wish to set up security cameras in Kings Park, I will not prevent you from doing so.
You guys got any of those like bugs that you find in all the secret agent films?
Actually, honestly, if I've been understanding something that one of my ghouls has been telling me right, there's this really effective and durable, very small camera called the GoPro that apparently is
Snipe Sleeper.
for things.
GoPro? Not familiar with it.
I have actually, apparently it's largely used by people that attempt to make first-person films of their own exploits as they do rather dangerous activities. But given that these things have survived falling off of mountains, that suggests good durability.
They're very nice. They're like this big, grey, and you can strap them basically on anything, and they give very high quality video. You should check that on the internet. I can show you later on. Very funny stuff.
Good. So yeah, besides a few security levels being sorted out, I could do with another suitable person being pushed on for Hound, but I haven't really been going on many outings recently, so I haven't seen anyone being pushing themselves towards such a spot. But if you've got someone suitable in your clans, well, no one's going to know your clans better than their Primogen.
Eastbourne's not going to push himself, but then again, I don't think he should need to.
Well, I'm quite a fan of Isvan, and me and him do work very well together. But his skills lie in specific places, and I like a nice rounded group.
Well, I believe I showed you some of what young Mr. Archer can do. I think he might make a useful individual, perhaps set up an arrange you two to have a chat, see if you've compatible personalities.
Good. In which case, is there anything that your sheriff and our small little team of interested individuals can do for you, Primogen Council, Seneschal and Prince? Anything that you need sorting out? Any issues?
There's one thing I'm a bit worried about. Now I don't know how much this has been brought to the attention of this council. But have we looked into former ghouls still residing in the city, being them Anarch, former Camarilla, whatever?
Oh, that does remind me, we had discussed at the last Primogen Council, I forget if we voted it in, but we discussed possibly limiting who is able to make ghouls. Did we actually pass that? I'm trying to remember.
There were two issues. One was passed that only those who had achieved the status of neonate, at least, were able to have ghouls. However, anybody who currently, at this time, is a fledgling and has such thing, basically would be allowed to obviously keep those ghouls, on the premise that if someone has not shown that they are capable to be recognized as neonates, they might not have proven their level of responsibility yet, and there is a degree of a chance that ghouls are potential walking masquerade breaches. Or
Right.
not
So shall
as
I?
bad.
So shall I take this one as no more fledglings with ghouls unless there's a route given by their Primogen representatives to allow them to have
That
such?
wasn't exactly the arrangements made. It was said
It
that
does sound very good, though.
it could be an amendment. I'm not opposed to that. The other thing which was discussed was that basically members of their clan must identify their ghouls to their Primogen. Now, Seneschal Hannibal, we began to press towards the notion that perhaps the higher up in the Carmela should know as well, in case anything happened to the individual Primogen. I said myself, in my case, I will forward on the information to Lord Remington, and if something were to happen to me and there was an emergency, then the Prince could contact him, and I'm sure he would hand over the information, as I'll explain the situation to him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not that particular part of the beyond the Primogen is not something set in stone.
I'm still in favor of that. I think there should be a central hive of information when it comes to the ghouls. People tend to make their unlives rather short, and then no one knows what's going to happen to those slaves of the blood.
Okay. As for anything else I can report, it's just the same old. Please keep your people away from coastal areas and no one go for a swim.
Yeah, that's a good general advisory.
Haven't had actually any problems with the river. Is there some reason I should avoid the ocean?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
from the usual avoid the ocean because sharks?
Yes.
Worse
It's-
sharks than normal.
Yes.
Okay,
Sharks that walk on the land.
that sounds fun.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty strange when I heard about it.
Yeah.
But after personal investigations, yeah, we're going to be cautious on that front.
Considering we lost a rather promising member of Clan Toreador.
Yes, yes. Anyway, so shall I go and open the door for my Primogen if you have any issues or concerns to bring to the clan?
Oh, a point about that ghoul thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who thinks thinks that I'm going to start keeping a careful book about other people's retainers, I'm going to give you the same answer I was planning on giving the previous French about. I'm not aware of such individual unless they punched me in the face. Then again, if they've done that mistake, they're usually no longer a problem for the prince or the sheriff either.
Well, if we have it as a situation where one of the Primogen is outright refusing, perhaps we might have to downgrade that to a suggestion. Otherwise, well, obviously, Primogen Creel feels very
Do you
firm on the issue.
Do you have any idea the level of trouble I'd have trying to enforce such an edict?
Well, no, our clans operate quite differently. Although
I have
not
some-
everyone in my clan is happy with the situation either.
Does anyone have any requirements for equipment being sorted out by my... Because currently I finished my latest project and it is a beauty, but I'm out of commissions at the moment.
Might actually have a commission for you in the near future.
Excellent.
I think I have an order of armor about.
Yes, that's pretty much done. We just need you to come in for a bit more sizing.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Yes, especially with this type of armor, it needs to be extremely form-fitting to be able to work with how you like to do your defensive style of combat techniques.
Do you also construct steel beams?
I heard steel beams. I happen to have access to a variety of industrial businesses if you require steel beams, if you're trying to construct a building.
No, it's just particularly durable ones. Might have to look into that.
I happen to have a metalworks underneath my control that can provide stronger materials.
Well, I'll call you on that, because there might be something I have in need of then.
Bear in mind that I have to create weapons capable of withstanding potent-upped individuals. Be able to also withstand impact against fortitude-up individuals.
Well, that's good to hear. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Excellent. Now, let me just go and fetch my Primogen. He's just out front.
Great.
Primogen! 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 Get the fuck in there!
Prim is looking slightly confused about this.
Tone.
Outright joy about the Torian Primogen joining the council meeting. But, what?
Come on! Come on! Come on!
A very groggy looking, possibly disheveled, possibly even bloodshot at Jonathan Bagger, near to his friends. His clothes are, let's say, a little wet as he climbs into the building.
Excellent. While I lead him into the building, he goes and takes his seat. I would just like to make a little quick announcement. There was that one ghoul that was apparently being given over to the Nosferatu or whoever, but no one decided to feed him, so I had to take that on my responsibility. And it's a bit late now, so Nosferatu or whoever actually had ownership of them, they can have a minor boon on keeping the ghoul.
Could you repeat what ghoul? Because I was spacing out.
Vincent.
What was that group's name?
Sorry, you all spoke at the same time.
Sorry, Trent. What was the Toreador ghoul's name again?
Oh, okay.
It was Max. It was Max's ghoul. I don't remember the damn name.
But okay, that guy.
Yes, let's just refer to. Yes, it was whatever the fucking bitch's name was. The Grand Sire's fucking ghoul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way,
Yeah,
they didn't feed him. He would have turned to ash if I didn't step in, and he's rather useful. I grown fond of him, so I'm keeping him. And they can have a minor boon.
Oh yeah, Clan Nosferatu happily accepts a boon for this. Thanks.
Thank you.
For keeping track on that. That's what I mean.
Nice and sorted. Anyways, here's my Primogen. I'm going to go and take a seat over here.
Hannibal looks over to the groggy Primogen, raised an eyebrow. Welcome to the Primogen Council meeting.
You were just finishing up.
Like, fantastic.
No responsibility you have to take.
Fantastic. Maybe, Hannibal, you can tell me how I could regularly transfire the rivers more successfully than what I have been. I seem to have fallen off it.
You fall into the river.
Yes, indeed.
Huh. Well, I certainly can give you some advice how to avoid that fate. Later on.
That reminds me of a song. Take me to the river.
Well, is there anything else this council needs to discuss for the moment?
Let's see. We've discussed retainers and the fact that no, I have no intention of getting into that hassle with my clan mates.
The
Aside from strongly advising them that any non-neonates who have any
that
might
matter
find the sheriff removing the excess material out of the books.
that matter is not yet resolved. I put forward since Agreed says it would be quite difficult for the structure, obviously, they've set up in the Bruja clan to enforce such things. Perhaps we could change it from it being a hard rule to it being merely a rule that this is identified to newcomers and those embracing the city as a very good idea.
I have no objections to the sheriff if he comes aware of any fledgling having a excess personnel, removing said excess personnel.
The fledglings are a different matter. I don't, did you object to that part?
No.
I will try to make sure that the cream of the crop of excess personnel are transported to the Primogen for deciding on where they go. Whether it's the ash pile or someone suitable to service.
See? Easy enough. Don't need a big brouhaha about it.
Anyway, so Rafat explained to you my deal, Mr. Creel.
You have been, for some reason, concerned enough about the criminal element of this city?
Yes.
To actually hand over boons for anyone who actually has some control over them?
Well, makes significant headways.
Alright,
trying
talk about the amount of boons you're going to owe to Sambruja, or not?
I believe it's only owable once. It's a one-time offer, and it's up to the first person to come to me and prove that they have made suitable headways and made control. So the race is on. But that's a out of Primogen meaty bit pieces.
Oh, looks like all are happy and content for now, for once.
It has
Right,
last.
which is the best one can hope for.
Well, I don't expect this state of happiness to last for more than a few seconds.
Oh, I'm always happy, except when I'm not.
But you are very simple or easy to please, man.
A man of
simple
pleasure.
change.
That is in no way supposed to be an insult. I admire that quite a lot. And then Hannibal looks over to the prince, or it's like anyone else wants to bring something forth? Maybe our newest, yeah. No, doesn't look like it.
I believe that was the universal tap of, we shall call this meeting to a close. Thank you very much, Primogen of all sizes.
Oh, one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
My dear Primogen Council members, let me remind you that it's Primogen pro tempore for the Bruja, as far as myself is concerned.
Of course.
Yes, but somehow I think you're going to be stuck with that one for a while.
The numbers are growing, at least. Always a good sign.
Well,
We will accept any other Bruja that makes his way up the ladder that is equally talented.
Oh, good grief, that's setting the bar low. But my sire would agree with my assessment of the situation.
Sure you would.
I might slightly disagree with your sire on that.
Well, if then there's nothing else, I would think we can declare this meeting over and closed. Well, I will have to go and get some security cameras, and he nods to Mr. Salvador.
Let me know if you need a little bit of a donation for this fine project.
I will. I will.
Excellent. In all case, Bagger, what the fuck happened to you?
Well, I reckon that I had some very particular business with some musical performers on the side of the city that has the most magnificent river there. And then, for some reason, I felt like I had been aggressively pushed there while I was distracted.
Hmm? I'm sorry, you're going to need to say that again. Was someone aggressively pushing my Primogen?
I could not say whether yes or no. I was quite distracted with the performance.
Ah, very, very fine performance it was then. And then you end
Indeed,
up in the river.
very, very moving, like the currents.
Ah, I see, I see. Well, let me know if you catch a photo or something of the people that pushed you a little bit too hard, and I will endeavour to make sure that they know that polite company is not to be pushed around.
I'll keep my eyes up, Salvador. I'll keep my eyes up.
Oh, I'll give you a report on all the bits that went on in the meeting for you to catch up on our way back home then.
Lead the way, Salvador. Lead the way.
Oh, I'll drive you. The car's still got new car smells. It's beautiful.
Okay. Let's quit our yapping and get on to riding.
Ting ting.
I think that's a fine point to leave it at.